bread, rice, potatoes. Doctors say skip them if you have diabetes, but they're everyday foods for most people. Telling you to stop eating them is not realistic in the long term. But the truth is, you can eat them safely if you are equipped with the right tricks. I am Dr. Saad, board-certified physician, and here's what the 8 billion blood sugar supplement industry doesn't want you to know. Simple food preparation tricks work better than their expensive pills. The supplement industry doesn't want you to see this video, but since you are watching it right now, you are special. Drop a comment saying, "I deserve the truth," if you believe healthcare information should be free and accessible to everyone. Only the supplement company executives and the people who profit from your confusion won't comment. Because in this video, I'll uncover the 6 science-backed strategies that let you eat bread, rice, and potatoes without spiking your blood sugar. And stick around because strategy number 1 is the most powerful of them all. A simple trick that reduces glucose spikes by 35% using the exact same meal you're already eating. And by the way, if you have family members that are avoiding their favorite foods because they're terrified of blood sugar spikes, share this video with them. So many people are unnecessarily restricting their diets and missing out on foods they love without knowing there are simple solutions. And a quick note, even though I'm a physician, I'm not your physician. So please talk to your doctor before you make any changes to your diet or your medical regimen. All the scientific references and peer-reviewed studies are listed in the description below if you want to see how deep this research goes. Strategy 6, the resistant starch method. So let's start with one of the most powerful but probably least known tools that we have for blood sugar control, and that is resistant starch transformation. Now, most starches, which would be things like bread and pasta and rice, things made out of flour, well, they break down into glucose, and this is what raises your blood sugar pretty quickly. And those repeated blood sugar spikes are what drive worsening insulin resistance, and they lead to pancreas dysfunction, which ultimately is what makes your diabetes worse over time. But resistant starch digests and behaves very differently. Your digestive enzymes are just not good at breaking down resistant starch. So instead of being broken down quickly and spiking your blood glucose within 30 minutes, resistant starch travels all the way to the large intestine, where your gut bacteria ferment it. And that fermentation is what produces things like short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which actually improve your insulin sensitivity and help reduce chronic inflammation and even feed the lining of your colon cells. So, how do you get resistant starch? Well, one good trick is you can take your typical starchy foods that would normally raise your blood sugar and just cool them in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours and then heat them back up before you eat them. And by doing that, you can increase the food's resistant starch content by 2 to 3 times. So you can take bread and pasta and rice and potatoes, and when you cool them overnight, part of the starch crystallizes into this resistant form. It's a process called starch retrogradation, where gelatinized starch molecules realign and form tightly packed crystalline structures that resist digestion in your small intestine. So you can still eat your favorite foods, but just cool them in the fridge overnight and heat them up later and enjoy the metabolic benefits. Plus, there are many foods naturally high in resistant starch that you can add to your routine without any preparation. Things like beans, lentils, chickpeas, green peas, steel-cut oats, and pearl barley. But resistant starch is just the beginning. Strategy 5, the food pairing principle. Okay, the next principle is strategic food pairing. With carbs, we rarely eat them in isolation in real life, and what you eat alongside your carbs can dramatically change your glucose response. Studies show that adding protein to a carbohydrate meal can significantly reduce glucose spikes. And dietary fat can also blunt early glucose spikes because fat delays gastric emptying, meaning food stays in your stomach longer. So ideally, we do not want to eat starchy carbohydrates in isolation. Some diabetes educators call this avoiding naked carbs. That's why rice and beans are usually better than just rice alone. Or potatoes with olive oil and grilled chicken produce a gentler glucose spike compared to potatoes by themselves. And another powerful thing we can do is add acid to our meals. Things like vinegar, lemon juice, lime juice, sauerkraut, or kimchi. These help slow the breakdown of starches in your digestive system. And another way you can supercharge your food pairing is by eating your carbohydrates last, because food order actually matters. If you start your meal with bread or juice or rice, you get a sharp glucose peak within 30 to 45 minutes. But if you eat your protein and vegetables first, wait about 10 minutes, and then finish with carbs, your body absorbs that glucose much slower and steadier. The beauty is, it's the exact same food and the exact same calories, but eating it in a different order creates a completely different glucose curve. So the next time you're at a restaurant and they bring out bread or chips before the meal, start with your salad and protein first. Strategy 4, the movement protocol. Another thing that can make a massive difference is walking right after a meal. Studies show that just a 10-minute walk immediately after eating can significantly lower post-meal glucose compared to sitting. It doesn't even have to be intense exercise. Cleaning the kitchen, climbing stairs, or light housework can also help. The key is timing. Ideally, move within 15 to 30 minutes after eating because that's when blood sugar starts to rise. Walking activates your calf muscles, especially the soleus muscle, which can soak up glucose from your bloodstream very efficiently. So after your meals, don't sit down immediately. Move your body, even for 10 minutes. Strategy 3, the circadian timing strategy. Here's something most people don't know. The later you eat carbs at night, the worse your glucose response becomes, even if it's the exact same food. Your body is naturally better at processing carbohydrates earlier in the day. In the evening, your insulin sensitivity drops, and your pancreas becomes less responsive. So if possible, eat your larger carbohydrate meals earlier in the day, ideally at breakfast or lunch, and keep dinner lighter in carbs. And try to finish eating at least 3 hours before bed. This is one reason why time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting can help with blood sugar control. It's not just about what you eat, it's also about when you eat it. Strategy 2, the carb quality matrix. A lot of people say to cut out all carbs completely, but it's not really the carbs themselves. It's the type and processing level of the carbs that matter most. Highly processed carbs like white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, crackers, and chips digest extremely fast and flood your bloodstream with glucose. But whole grains and minimally processed carbs digest slower and create a steadier glucose response. Think of it like kindling versus logs in a fire. White bread and pastries are like throwing sawdust into the fire. Fast burn, massive spike, then a crash. But steel-cut oats, quinoa, barley, and wild rice burn slowly and steadily. Fiber is one of the most important components here because it slows digestion, feeds healthy gut bacteria, improves insulin sensitivity, and helps with satiety. So choose whole, minimally processed carbohydrates whenever possible. For example, steel-cut oats instead of instant oatmeal, sourdough or sprouted grain bread instead of white bread, brown, black, or wild rice instead of white rice, sweet potatoes instead of russet potatoes. And remember, you can lower the glycemic impact of potatoes even more by cooking them, cooling them overnight, and reheating them later. Before we get to the final strategy, show your support by liking this video and subscribing. If you believe health information should be free and not controlled by corporations profiting from confusion and fear, hit that subscribe button. If you're tired of being told you can never eat normal food again, subscribe to this channel. Strategy 1, the vinegar amplifier. Now for the final strategy that amplifies all the others, and that is strategic vinegar consumption. Research has shown that vinegar, specifically the acetic acid it contains, can help reduce blood sugar spikes by slowing stomach emptying and improving insulin sensitivity. Just 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar diluted in water before a carbohydrate-rich meal may help reduce glucose spikes. Vinegar also appears to reduce the amount of glucose your liver releases into the bloodstream overnight. The best way to use it is to dilute 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar in a large glass of water and drink it about 10 to 15 minutes before meals. You can also use vinegar in salad dressings, marinades, or drizzle it over vegetables. And when you combine vinegar with food sequencing, like starting with a salad dressed in vinegar before your main meal. You stack multiple blood sugar lowering strategies together. One important note: never drink vinegar straight because the acidity can damage your teeth and irritate your esophagus. So let's bring everything together into a simple action plan you can start today. Before your meal, drink diluted vinegar 10 to 15 minutes before eating. Meal preparation: cook your rice, potatoes, or pasta ahead of time, refrigerate overnight, and reheat before eating. Meal composition: never eat carbs alone. Pair them with protein, healthy fats, and vegetables. Eating sequence: eat vegetables and protein first, then carbohydrates last. After eating, walk for at least 10 minutes after meals. Meal timing: eat carb-heavy meals earlier in the day and avoid late-night carbs. Carb quality: choose whole, minimally processed carbohydrates rich in fiber. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but you don't need to do everything perfectly. Start with one or two strategies and build from there. Consistency matters far more than perfection. Your blood sugar doesn't have to spike every time you eat bread, rice, or potatoes when you understand how to work with your body instead of against it. And these strategies aren't just for people with diabetes. Stable blood sugar benefits everyone. Better energy, fewer cravings, improved focus, easier weight control, and better long-term health. All right, I hope this was helpful. Stay healthy, keep your blood sugar stable, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive into cheap foods that help build muscle and fight sarcopenia. If you believe everyone deserves access to real health information, subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, you can eat bread, rice, and potatoes again. You just need to eat them smarter. Dr. Saad.